This is our first video edition, so look for more videos in the upcoming weeks. I'm Mike, this is Brant, we are Target Up. This week we're going to be discussing the differences between open carry and concealed carry. So to start it off, let's start with definition. What is open carry versus what is concealed carry?
Alright, so it's actually kind of it's a legal term, and then also it is basically a physical term. So open carrying is when you carry your gun so that it is actually open and it is not concealed. It means that anyone can readily see it, you also have ready access to it, and that if you're approached by a police officer or anyone else, clearly I have a gun on my hip, I'm not trying to conceal or hide that. So that's basically what open carry refers to. Concealed carry is when you conceal the gun, also generally usually on your hip, but there's also other places you can conceal carry. But as you can see, Mike also has a true holster on his hip, but when he has his sweatshirt over top of it, or if his shirt was over top of it, anything is on it, you cannot readily see it, it is concealed. That is basically the simple definition of it, where no concealment, obviously concealment. Also, hopefully when you started watching the video, you could actually tell that I had a gun on my hip, and that it was readily available, and maybe one of the first things you noticed, and Mike's was not immediately noticeable. And also, not only was the gun not noticeable, hopefully there wasn't any printing or anything that was showing and that was clearly something underneath. That's another thing you want to consider while concealed carry.
What's the criteria? Like, so if I can open carry, does that mean I have either option of open carrying or concealed carrying? You know, can anybody open carry? Can anybody conceal carry?
All right. That is actually, it comes down to the state that you live in. And as a citizen of a certain state, it is up to you to figure out what the laws are, and then, which states share the same laws. And that's where concealed carry permits come into play. You need to get your concealed carry permit that gives you the ability and the right to conceal your weapon. Virginia, where we live and where we're doing this video, is an open carry state, meaning that without a permit, if you basically legally purchase and own a gun, you are allowed to open carry, no permit required. If you want to then conceal it and cover it up, then you need to have a permit to do so.
Cool. So I think one thing that open carriers need to be careful of, like you mentioned, if you do conceal carry, you do need a permit. So one thing open carriers might need to be aware of is if Brant were in the store or something and he reached up to a shelf and the sweatshirt came down and he even just covered a little bit of the gun like that, that could be seen as an attempt to conceal his gun. Brant would be okay in that situation because he does have a concealed carry permit. However, if you did not have a concealed carry permit, that could become an issue.
Alright, so we've touched on the legal aspects and the differences between the two. Now, I guess we can cover the pros and cons, and what I would ask you is, for me as a user, for the people that watch, what would be the difference, and why would you pick to go outside and open carry one day, or concealed carry, or go through with getting a concealed carry permit for my daily usage, and then also what do we do here at Target Up?
Sure. So there's a lot of thought that goes into the pros and cons and why someone would open carry as opposed to concealed carry. And I guess we can just start going down the list of reasons that people may have for concealed carrying over open carry or vice versa. One of the reasons is people have this idea, and there's this kind of concept out there that if you walk around with a gun visible on your hip, that you're going to kind of deter crime, that people aren't going to come up and mess with you because they see you have a gun on your hip. I think that's kind of, I could see the logic in that. However, at the same time, you actually might be unintentionally making yourself a target. You're kind of marking yourself as a target potentially. The reason I say that is if I see you walking down the street and I notice that you have, this really nice $500 gun on your hip, to me, I'm just thinking, oh, that's a nice gun. To somebody who's not so concerned about your well-being or about the law might only be seeing dollar signs on the side of his hip. And so I might you know, if I were one of those people, I might wait until he walked by. You know, I could attack him from behind, you know, either hit him with something or use a weapon of my own, and now I have myself a nice new gun. Another scenario is if somebody was dead set on robbing a store that you were in, or holding up a convenience store or whatever. You know, I can look at him and say, okay, this is the first guy I need to take out, because he's the one that's going to stop me from accomplishing this task of robbing a store.
It's a visible threat. It's
exactly.
The person that's in there that is, you know, clearly armed, and also if I've taken the action to make sure that I bought a gun, chose to open carry, and announced to everyone that I'm probably also the type of person that is going to immediately try and do something, and
right.
you know, maybe save the day, maybe try to, you know, get involved in whatever's happening.
Right. And then at the same time, you know, if you flip the token and it's a concealed carrier, you know, and you're in a store where someone's dead set on robbing that store, you may not appear as much of a threat as if you had a gun visible on your hip. You know, you actually are gaining the element of surprise, so that if you were in a position where you could step up and do something about it, you know, you'd have the element of surprise on your side. One thing to remember is that action will always be quicker than reaction. So even though, and we'll talk about the speed of drawing and everything a little bit later on in the video, but even though, you know, you might have the ability to pull faster because he does have it open and nothing concealing, chances are that I'm not, as a robber or a criminal, I'm not going to wait until he draws until I have my gun out. I'll already have my gun out. So that's kind of negated by the fact that, you know, that I'm not going to wait for him to draw. So by concealed carrying, I have the element of surprise. So I can, you know, not have to race to the draw, but maybe back away and find a time to where I can draw safely and know that I'll have the advantage there.
It's also important to remember that, you know, Mike just mentioned backing away. Every self-defense situation that involves a gun and involves being armed does not have to result in you firing your gun. You know, you more often than not clearing the situation, getting out of there, protecting yourself, and just you know not being there could be the #1 way to save yourself and to be safe. If you're open carrying, someone sees that and you're the first target, you've given up that ability to clear out of there without being in their mind. If you're concealed carrying, there's a very easy chance that they don't see you as a threat, they're not your focus, and you can just get off the X and clear the area.
Exactly. So another reason for people may consider open carrying over concealed carrying that I hear a lot is, and we kind of touched on this a little bit before, is the speed of draw. You know, it is faster for somebody who's open carrying to be able to just reach down, draw, and go, as opposed to concealed carrying, where I'm going to have to move my cover garment and then reach for my gun. So there is a split-second difference with open carrying as opposed to concealed carrying. However, with training, and I think we'll be able to demonstrate this later, it's really not that much of a difference. If you train consistently and you train hard, you can really cut that time down. And I think a lot of people would be surprised at how quickly you can actually move your cover garment and draw. So again, I still don't think there's an advantage to open carrying there. You're sacrificing the advantage of the element of surprise for a split second, maybe, of a faster draw.
Yeah, I agree.
So is there any other things to think about, to consider when you're deciding to open carry versus concealed carry?
Yeah, there's definitely, you know, this list could go on forever. But one of the things that I think that should be at the forefront, and something that I think both sides, you know, open carriers and concealed carriers, should consider, is the public opinion. More often than not, open carrying is going to create an immediate response out of people. With the general public that either have little to no firearms experience or you know, basically fit into that category, open carrying kind of leaves a bad taste in their mouth. It could be considered either intimidating, scary, just over the top, and just unnecessary. A lot of people don't find the reason behind it. They do, you know, for whether they don't feel that you should open carry or they don't feel you should have a gun at all. And open carrying, is kind of pushing it in their face and almost kind of forcing it upon other people. Now, that might be a little blunt and forceful, but more often than not, when I've spoken with people that actively open carry and that believe in open carrying, they almost immediately go on the defensive about doing it and about other people's reactions.
Right.
It's very rarely an understanding approach to things, and more often than not, they will almost to the point of arguing and saying, I'm right, this is my right, and don't take into account what other people are thinking and how they're being perceived. Whereas if you're concealed carrying, no one knows that you're concealed carrying. Those that might and those that are close to you and everything, more often than not, from being communicating with people that know we open carry or that we conceal carry, that know that their family members do, they feel a sense of security and they feel a sense of that person's gone through the steps to get the permit, to get the training, to get the gun, and to know what they're doing. Whereas more often than not, the open carriers are almost considered cowboys and people that are out to make a statement. And a lot more often than not, when you see it in the news, is when people are making a statement. They are blatantly wearing something over the top. A shotgun strapped to their back, an AR-15, in the front, like you'd see a soldier wearing. They have the right to do that, and the state says you can do that. But we don't believe that it's always necessarily the best idea and the best way to blend in and just be a citizen. And it is making an open, in-your-face statement and we don't feel that firearms really, that's not what they're for, at least in our opinion. And we feel that they should be there to defend you, make you feel safe, and protect those that you're around. And that's basically it.
Yep, and that's a great point, and I agree 100%. So basically, I think in conclusion, there are two options, at least in the state of Virginia, where it's an open carry state. You can open carry, and if you go through the right steps of getting the permit, you can also conceal carry. I think we've kind of made it a little clear that our opinion is that conceal carry is the better option, and I think it's a good choice for everybody to go ahead and go through those steps. If you're going to carry, get the permit to conceal carry. So thank you guys for tuning in. We're going to be posting videos like this every week, so make sure you stop by our page and check it out. We'll either be posting videos or articles. Just like this one, please feel free to join in our discussion. Also, we have a basic pistol course coming up March 18th and 19th. So if you haven't taken a course yet, we'd love to have you. So you can see the event on our page for more information about that. And stay tuned. After we end this video, we're going to go ahead and show you some examples of drawing from open carry versus drawing from concealed carry. Thanks.
Thank you.
Stand by. Threat. 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 Stand by.